You wake up to the same alarm. You sit in the same traffic, travel to the same office, and spend 8 hours staring at a screen while a quiet numbness builds in your chest. Then you go home, wait for the weekend, and repeat the cycle. You aren't alone in that feeling. A recent global Gallup poll reveals a staggering reality. 77 to 80. Once you start a job, society pushes you toward the car, the mortgage, and the credit cards. Soon, half your paycheck disappears into monthly installments, or EMIs. When your survival is tied to that cycle, leaving a toxic job feels mathematically impossible. You don't lack ambition. You are caught in a loop. The educational system limits your options, and the economic system ensures you remain dependent on the few options you have left. When people try to escape this loop, they usually lean on the advice to follow your passion. But this creates a fixed mindset. You end up paralyzed, waiting for a magical calling to strike you like lightning. A 2018 study from researchers at Stanford University looked directly at this dynamic. They found that waiting for a heart-led passion to reveal itself actually leads to passivity and confusion. The science shows that passion is not a buried treasure you stumble upon by looking deep inside yourself. It functions differently. It is a plant that must be actively cultivated through effort. Breaking out of the cage requires abandoning the myth of innate passion altogether. Instead, you have to adopt a mechanical, step-by-step framework to build it from the ground up. In his research on high performers, author David Epstein identified a clear pattern. The people who ultimately succeed rarely specialize right out of the gate. They go through a sampling period where they try out a wide variety of unrelated fields. Take MS Dhoni. Long before he became a cricket legend, he was busy sampling. As a kid, he played badminton, football, and even served as his school team's goalkeeper. This leads to step 1 of the blueprint: explore. For the next 30 days, you need to spend 30 minutes a day researching careers that exist entirely outside your normal bubble. Look into the extremes. Figure out how someone runs a cloud kitchen out of their apartment, or watch how artists make a full-time living painting custom designs onto sneakers. Deliberately expanding your worldview is the mandatory first step. You cannot aspire to build a life if you don't even know it exists. Once you have a list of interesting options, you move to step 2, engage. You have to stop reading online and start getting your hands dirty with real-world experimentation on your weekends. You don't need years to test an idea. Author Josh Kaufman established that it only takes 20 hours of deliberate practice to go from knowing nothing to reaching a reasonably good skill level. The primary goal of these 20 hours is not mastery. It is a test to see if performing the task triggers a psychological condition known as the flow state. When you hit flow, your perception of time vanishes. You forget to check your phone. Your mind is totally focused, yet you feel relaxed because the difficulty of the task perfectly matches your abilities. Experiencing that biological reaction is your ultimate metric. It is the only accurate compass for deciding if a career path is actually worth pursuing. But the initial excitement of a new project will fade. You will inevitably hit a prolonged dip, where you face ruined projects, zero income, and immense frustration. This is where step 3 kicks in: excel. To survive the dip, you need what psychologist Angela Duckworth calls grit, passion combined with extreme perseverance. Duckworth's research on cadets at West Point proved this. She found that surviving the academy's brutal training didn't come down to natural aptitude. The ultimate predictor of success was a high grit score. In practice, grit means committing to deliberate daily improvement. You put in the hours on the side, week after week, to slowly build an income stream that can eventually replace an office salary. Pushing through this daily friction is the exact mechanism that works. It separates the people who successfully engineer an escape plan from those who retreat back into the cage. In Japan, there is a philosophy known as Ikigai, a reason to wake up in the morning. Medical research shows that people who live with a clear Ikigai report lower stress levels and longer lifespans. You see this in Okinawa, a region famous for its centenarians. Because their lives are anchored in purpose, their local language doesn't even have a word for retirement. Ikigai rests on 4 specific pillars: what you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, and what people will pay for. You don't solve this diagram like a puzzle on day one. It is carefully assembled over years of trial and error. A fulfilling career isn't a lucky accident. It is the mathematical result of applying the Explore, Engage, and Excel framework consistently over time. If you feel you're too old to start, the numbers say otherwise. Globally, the average age for a major career transition is 39 years old, and you don't have to quit your job to begin. A study from San Francisco University found that building a side passion actually improves your creativity and reduces burnout in your current day job. That quiet restlessness you feel right now is not a burden to be suppressed. It is the most valuable asset you have. Your first step is simple. Tomorrow, set aside just 30 minutes to research a career you know nothing about. A global workforce stuck in the same 15 roles cannot innovate. By developing a unique specialty through the 3E framework, you move from being a replaceable part of the machine to a contributor with skills the world is actually looking for.